This is Twit.
At the international level and in other places, right, the copyright entertainment industries have made the argument that they're losing enormous amounts of revenue through copyright infringement. While there's certainly infringement going on, the real question is how many actual sales are being lost? Is someone who's going to or does pirate or copy or infringe a recording actually going to go out and buy it if they don't have the option to pirate it? And that's a real interesting evidentiary question. And because we don't have a lot of evidence that are able to show this is an actual lost sale, i.e. the person who is not buying in the traditional model, but rather is listening and not paying, is someone who would have purchased, is a very real challenge. And so the lack of evidence to quantify in dollars and cents what's being lost, I think makes it very difficult for us to figure out what copyright law and therefore what the royalty rate should be.
Evan, what do you think about this notion that performers don't get royalties from terrestrial radio, but they do from things like Pandora? There's a lot of concern and hand-wringing over whether musicians' royalties are high enough. It seems to me like they might be dropped down to what terrestrial is based on that erroneous assumption about distribution and promotion.
Yeah, I think we're definitely onto something here when we're talking about this problem of measuring both the quantities of people who are actually consuming the content and, even more importantly, the people who are or aren't buying the content. And I think that actually we have every reason to be optimistic about the future on this point, because terrestrial radio, of course, has been with us for however many decades now, and we've never been able to really get accurate measurements. There's only been approximations of reach and market effectiveness and all that, because there's no way to tell, to evaluate and count the listener's engagement with the music. We can only get approximations. But with digital distribution modes, those ones that we have now and the ones that will be coming over the next few years and, heretofore, forever, new innovation in distribution models will be coming our way. There's every bit of reason to think that we'll be more effectively, or we'll be able to more effectively measure the user's engagement, and even perhaps to the point of being able to more readily ascertain whether or not the acquisition of a so-called pirated copy caused a lost sale to occur. For example, if we go to if the whole world becomes a file locker and we don't carry around music with ourselves anymore, but everything's stored in a hosted service in the cloud somewhere, then one can measure the user's engagement with that pretty well. Setting aside all the privacy issues with this, but you can measure the user's engagement with that piece of content, match up with whether they purchased that, and make some assumptions, make some inferences as to whether or not that truly was a lost sale here. So as we move away from terrestrial radio and toward alternate, non-terrestrial radio modes of distribution, I think there's every reason for us to think that this problem will get more of this evidence that we're talking about, that David was saying that we're missing in all of this, and that'll be the way to really get this resolved. And only then can we meaningfully talk about how copyright reform should go and what it should look like in all this. Because right now it's just such a mess, and I'm this close to just dropping out of the discussion on a large scale of Pandora and royalty rates and all this stuff, because it really has very little to do with copyright. It just has to do with business interests and the relative powers of the incumbents versus the purveyors and users of more disruptive technologies.